Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islam in Life with me, Raza Kazim. Muhammad Ali often talked about being the greatest, but you seldom hear of the modification that he made to this sentence. Allah is the greatest, I'm just the greatest boxer. Another statement attributed to him is, the day I met Islam, I found a power within myself that no man could take away or destroy. He was straightforward, he never minced his words.
Never before has the Western world portrayed from its media outlets an image of positive Islam as upon the death of the greatest boxer of all time, Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali wasn't just a great boxer. From how he searched for the truth to convert to Islam, to how he stood against the powers of the world to defend the core principles of justice as per Islamic teachings, Muhammad Ali has been instrumental in portraying Islam positively to the entire universe. He wasn't always popular though with everyone. He was challenged and called nasty names when he stood against evils of racism and war, for example. But he never wavered. What exactly was it, and at what stage did Muhammad Ali stop being a radical and a subject of negative media to become one of the most loved and revered human beings, as witnessed soon upon his death with the amazing outpouring of praise and memorials? What did Muhammad Ali stand for? What can we learn from him? What legacy has he left behind?
We're honored to be joined by our esteemed guest, Professor Tariq Ramadan, to discuss all of these issues. Welcome to the program, Professor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. I want to start off by framing a question in terms of something that he actually said. Muhammad Ali said, I always ask my mother, I said, Mama, how comes everything is white? I said, why is Jesus blonde with blue eyes? Why is the Lord's Supper all white men? Isn't he challenging the societal norms of the white culture that was dominant?
Yes, I think you cannot disconnect his life from what was happening in the United States. And up to now, it's not because we had the first African-American president that we should be happy. He is part of this history, coming as a black citizen, an African-American, and saying, look, we have to deal with blackness and whiteness and racism within this society. In fact, he ended up boxing because of this, because this was the only way for him to be visible and to succeed in life, because all the other venues and opportunities were blocked, and there was no opportunity for all black people to be perceived and respected. So he came from this, and this is why in his life there are steps that we need to understand, because the first step, when he from Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali, that's also something which is important in his relationship to his mentor, Malcolm X. And Malcolm X at the beginning was the Nation of Islam. This was it. This was blackness is the way, and whiteness is what we have to face in a very narrow and racist way, by the way. The first step in Muhammad Ali's conversion to Islam was through something which was not the mainstream Islam that we know.
One of the things you talked about was his move from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. That became an issue for a boxer, and there was a fight in which he asked that boxer over and over again, what's my name, because he would continue to call him Cassius Clay. What's the issue with the name change? For him and for others.
The name change was exactly this, is to acknowledge the fact that I changed my religion, that I am a Muslim. I'm a black American Muslim. I'm Muslim, black American, African American at the same time. So this was really to make it clear that not only I'm coming from the black community that is discriminated in this country, but now I'm a Muslim and you have to respect this, which also was the central, the core discourse coming from the Nation of Islam at the beginning. And as a first step, it was very racist. All the white people were the devil. All what he was saying, you know, about the power in this country is all white, and everything which is white is against us, and the noble...
But that was true, wasn't it?
No, it's true that white people were in power, but to demonize white people is wrong. And this is exactly what happened to Malcolm X, his mentor, when he went to Hajj and came back from there and said, that's wrong, I'm more internationalist. We belong to the principles. It's not about blackness and whiteness, it's about justice. It's about coming together and on an equal footing. And Cassius Clay, who was at the beginning not following Malcolm X, came afterward and followed his path by saying, no, that's not Islam. It's not about racism against white people, against injustice, about the power of the white, using their power against the black people. Yes, but to say that all the white people were bad and the production of the devil, as opposed to the black people being supported by God, this is a discourse which was at the beginning against the Islamic principles, and he changed to the more mainstream understanding of Islam. There is no difference between white and black, except with your spirituality, your piety, and your respecting the principles of justice, freedom, and dignity.
I want to continue that slightly further. There was something else that he said was, I'm America, I'm the part you won't recognize, but get used to me. Black, confident, cocky. My name, not yours. My religion, not yours. My goals, my own, get used to me. He's basically sticking two fingers up at the establishment.
Yes, and that's why we have to be very cautious now that he passed away, that the people are all celebrating, white and all this, and just making it, oh, he was an internationalist, he was a universalist, he was for the Jews, he was for the Christians, for the atheists, for the American people, with no difference. Yes, but he faced power, and he was very clear on this. He was saying there is a part of the history in this country that you don't want to talk about: discrimination, colonization, exploitation, and we as African American, we were and we still are exploited, and we have the right to speak up, and you have to look at me as an American because I am your mirror and I am your future. So this is something that is very powerful. He was courageous enough to stand up and to say this, and this is part of what we have to keep, not coming only with the universalist nice talk about let us come together, but face power.
There was a time when he went into the boxing ring for the United States in the Olympics and won the gold medal.
Yeah.
And then he was under the illusion that, okay, people will accept him because he's won the gold medal. Then he threw that gold medal in the river. What's going on there?
No, he realized that, there is something which is, it's, celebration because you win, and understanding that there is something which is deeper than that. It's just not celebrating your victory, acknowledging you as an equal citizen, that you as a black man have the same rights, that something is going to change at the grassroots level, not being a symbol. In fact, much before what happened with Barack Obama being elected as a symbol, symbols matter, but if and only if things are changing at the grassroots level, which was not happening. He thought that something was going to change in the society, and nothing was changing, exactly the same exploitation. And in fact, he was sometimes used as the nice, pretty, black, successful man, to the point that other people were forgotten, and the whole issue of the social injustice, exploitation, the reality of racism within the American society was lost and forgotten. And once again, now we are talking about him because he passed away and the world was celebrating him. But remember, it happened exactly the same. We come with some very nice light when the people passed away. With Dr. King, Malcolm X, exactly the same with Mandela. Oh, great people. But what have you done before? Where were you before? What is essentially what they said is facing racism, facing injustice, and standing up for what is right. And we have to come back to this. This is the most important message, and it's good to have all these people coming, but let us say, be careful. Muhammad Ali was not only a human being, he was a message, and he was also a struggle. Keep this in mind and try to remember the very essence of this struggle.
And was he in that respect a practicing Muslim?
We should not be judgmental on what he said and the way he was speaking about his religion. It was very much, I'm a Muslim, I believe in God, and this is essential in my life. You quoted something which was very important. It changed his life. So some were seeing him in his private life, not always committed to some of the principles. But we are not, and we cannot.
But we're
judge
human.
it.
We make mistakes. Who doesn't?
That's exactly it. And I think that we have to just to stick to, at least he never publicly showed something which was completely against the principles in his public speeches, in the way he was dealing with people. He was trying his best to be consistent with his values. But even for us, as a spiritual being, as a Muslim, when you listen to someone who sometimes appears, I'm the greatest, with arrogance like this, that's not really what we are expecting from a believer, because we can't speak like that. And in fact, life, and in fact, Allah taught him how to deal with what he said in the past.
But one of the things that he said, that if you want to get somewhere, you have to believe in yourself. And if you express that belief in the kind of negativity that's piled on you, don't you have to do that in order to get there?
That's a good point. That's a good point, but I think that yes and no. You have to believe in yourself, bi'idhnillah, with his permission, which is everywhere in the Quran. Bihawlillah, with his power. And sometimes when he was to speak in a way which was arrogance, I'm the greatest, and you will see, and I will do, and I say, there was something wrong in the substance. And then he said it himself, that life taught him, Allah taught him through his own experience, even with his sickness. He said it himself, that he gave this to me to remind me he is the greatest. I'm just a human being. And I think that that's also very important for us, is that anyway, whatever the situation, if you are at the top or if you are very far within the society, there is something which is impossible in your spiritual journey. Arrogance. It's the opposite of faith.
And perhaps that very recognition of the supremacy of Allah is the submission as a Muslim.
That's exactly the point, yes, and this is what happened.
Thank you for that. We do like to keep the show as interactive as possible and really value your opinion. Here is what you sent us this week.
This week we asked, what was so special about Muhammad Ali? Ahmed from Iraq said, it was his unwavering belief in justice and his ability to stand up for that no matter what, that I think made him the greatest. Salma from Ghana said, Muhammad Ali was a true Muslim in every sense. He understood that Islam is about humanity. And David from USA said, he was never afraid to confront the powers that be at any point in his life. He stood up for all the right causes, against racism and Zionism, and was a successful yet humble person who was so devoted to God.
For me, he was a very special man because he was very outspoken. He wasn't afraid to say what he was thinking. He was very revolutionary, kind of like Malcolm X.
He was an inspiration to the youth, and he set out a guideline for many kids, especially black kids who are having it tough.
I admired his way of not compromising with his values. He stood what he thought was right. For example, how he refused to go to the Vietnam War, which costed him his championship belt and so on. So I think he's a really good front figure of how not to compromise with what you think is right.
Muhammad Ali was a hero to millions of people of all faiths and all nationalities and from corner to corner of the world, so he was universal.
Muhammad Ali has inspired Muslims all over the world, and the proof is that he resisted to join the Vietnam War in the name of Islam as a peaceful religion.
That's all the comments we have for this week. If you'd like to have your views featured in the show, be sure to follow us on Facebook or join us on Twitter. Now you can send your own videos with your comments and even your questions to islamandlife@presstv.com.
I want to pick up on something that you said just before the clip, and that's about this idea of Muhammad Ali basically being sanitized in terms of what would be acceptable for the white establishment, in a sense. That there is an argument that some people put that he became more of a celebrity when he lost his ability to speak. That's when he became the mascot of the and more so. How would you negotiate that?
I'm not sure that we can go as far as that, because I think that, you know, he was a celebrity by the way he was talking, even when he was, you know, the greatest in boxing. He was acknowledged as somebody who was very special. He was first. True, he was a black American. He was, as he was himself saying, and he knew this, I'm pretty. So I'm sending you an image of something in America which is important. And second, he was very smart. In all his interviews, the way he was talking very fast. He was an exception, you know, among boxers in the way he was talking, quite smart in the way he was understanding the issues. And I think that this was impressive. They didn't like it, but at the same time they were respecting something. And then something happened in his life was the fact that he was sick.
Can I just interject here? Was it respect or they couldn't ignore him?
Both. The one that you cannot ignore, at the end you respect him in a way. And you know, let us be clear also with this. When he said, I'm not going to Vietnam, as you know, a conscientious objection, he was respected by so many people beyond the black people. Christians were talking about him, saying, that's it, that's the guy, that's the one who for the sake of his principles, he's ready to lose everything. So there was great respect in this. Not all the people in the United States were to go to Vietnam. The establishment, yes, but the people were respecting him. And then came the sickness, and there was a sign here that something which was human in him. So when you see this and you understand, you know, you are projecting yourself in his story, that this is also a way he was inspiring people by the way he was with this power and the way he was dealing with this sickness. You know, I met him in 2003, and I was just, he was an inspiration when I was young. I was watching all the matches. This was something which was very important within the family. He was some, and then when I saw him there and I saw him sick, not able to speak in this, at that point, he was an inspiration as well. By the way he was struggling and the way you have to humble yourself, say, look, this is something which is great. So I don't think that we can just go as far as to think, no, he was only acknowledged as a symbol by the white people. No, I think that this would be going too far.
One of the things that he said, and I want to see what link you make of it, life is like a boxing match and defeat is not declared when you fall, but when you refuse to stand again. Isn't that an aspect of the concept of jihad that he's articulating?
Yes, this is the very essence of jihad, which is resistance and always starting again. You never end up. You end up your jihad with your own death. So what he's saying is something which is the essence of our spiritual struggle, our human struggle, our social struggle, and all these are jihads that we have to endeavor. But there is something also which is important in what he is saying, is that what we are talking about here is something which is universal. Go and speak to psychologists. They would say exactly the same. You are losing at the very moment you think that you have lost and you cannot stand up again. So you have to struggle, you have to strive. So this essential message that he was saying, when he's speaking like this, he's not putting Islamic quote, he's not putting Islamic jihad, he's just saying it as the universal message that is in our tradition, so obvious, that we are sharing with all the other spiritualities and religions and even philosophies. So this is something which is a symbol of the way he was. He was perceived as a human being beyond, but he kept on repeating, I'm a Muslim. So he was perceived beyond, but he was saying, I am a Muslim. And that's very important. It's very inspiring. And we have to think about the way he was dealing with his own religion, with people of other faiths.
And within that kind of concept, he didn't really back off in that. I mean, he sent this message out for everyone to be inspired from, but we don't see this being reflected. We say, oh, wonderful, how wonderful that quote is, but it's not internalized by Muslim communities.
Yeah, not enough. It's just sometimes we are very proud because he said, I am a Muslim and you have to get used to me and this is who I am. I don't have to be the way you want me to be. You know, we are proud of this. But there is something which is much more powerful in what he was saying. He was able, and this also happened with his mentor, Malcolm X, during the last 2 years of his life. He was able to not to be on the defensive. Look, I'm a Muslim, I'm good, I have to justify my... No, he said, okay, look, I'm beyond even your questions. I'm beyond even your perceptions. I'm beyond even your accusations or your stigmatization. I'm beyond this. I'm more universal. And I think that we have to draw a lesson out of this, is how now we are pushed in the West in a corner, and then you have to justify, you have to react. And he's coming much beyond all this. No, that's not my way. My way is who I am with my principles, and this is what I can bring to you in the United States of America. And we have to think about it. This is a way we have to communicate and to understand that our universal principles are not principles to react to questions, but to go beyond even the questions.
And one of the things I do want to bring up, which you mentioned about Vietnam, it was the way that he phrased what he was saying. And he said, man, I ain't got no quarrel with the Viet Cong. Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home and drop bombs and bullets on brown people in Vietnam while so-called Negro people in Louisville are treated like dogs and denied simple human rights? That was a very powerful statement to make.
Yeah, it's a very powerful one, and it's connecting everything, in fact. In fact, he's connecting two things. The first is the domestic policy based on discrimination, injustice, and exploitation, and racism. The black people here, this is what you are doing to them. So you go there to exploit and to kill, while you are in my country, and me as a citizen, this is what I am witnessing, and saying it's the same logic. So you go to Vietnam, you kill non-white people, brown people, and then the only thing that matters is your interest. So it's the same logic. Domestic issues when it comes to injustice, exploitation, and racism are exactly the same at the end with the international reality and the international power struggle and exploitation. So he was putting the finger on the very essence of the US establishment, economic factors, cultural factor, racism, by saying it's the same logic. So why do you want me to come from the reality of being exploited to go and to kill people that you are exploiting there? So exploiting here, exploiting there, killing here, and killing there. Treating people like dogs and killing there, so that's not me. I cannot be part of this. And this, I think, is the essential message. We need to keep it as something which is part of his legacy.
But this is something that when you have people who have been exploited, who are oppressed, they fail to recognize the solidarity that should be there between the different oppressed people, and connecting those and making those links. It's just simply not there. The whole idea of dividing and rule, creating hierarchies, that's been so ingrained that people are not able to do it. Why was he able to do it and others even today can't?
Yeah, I think you're right, and this is one of the weaknesses that we see in all the people who are facing injustices and fragmentation and not connecting the whole thing. I think it's coming from two things. First, the whole history within the American society, and also, as I said, never forget the role of Malcolm X. Malcolm X was exactly an internationalist. He came from within, say, what is happening in the ghetto is the logic of what is happening everywhere. And I want to connect what is happening in the ghetto with what is happening in African countries. The way you exploit there, it's exactly what you are doing here. So he was an international understanding that you are not going to win as a black American and get dignity and justice here if you don't get an international perception, an international understanding that it's the same logic. In fact, these are the same people and the same organism and the same organizations worldwide that they are dealing. So I think that this is, once again, we have to keep this. You know, we are in a global world, and it's now that we are very narrow in our analysis. We want to change things in the UK, racism here, our rights here. And what happened even with the so-called Arab Spring, very at the national level. No, it's South-South, transnational dimensions, international understanding. We need to be global in our understanding, and these people, like Muhammad Ali, peace be upon him, or Malcolm X and others, were having this. By the way, remember that Mandela had exactly the same understanding. We are not going to free my country if we are not freeing the Palestinians. How come? What is the link? Yes, the link is oppression and the structure that you have in the world, and this is something which is, this is the message at the end, this is what we have to keep.
Very powerful. Thank you very much. I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong is arguably the point at which his epitaph, being the greatest sports personality, reached beyond the restrictions of the boxing ring. The desire to stick to his principle, no matter what the cost, has made the man legendary. That's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Professor Tariq Ramadan for joining us, and I thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.